Hello, everybody. I'm John O'Loughlin. Welcome to McDuff Lives. And this morning, it's Friday morning. It's 11 a.m. here on Mystery Island. In I guess the last week before we have to change the clocks again, isn't it coming up pretty soon? Anyway, it's a beautiful fall morning here, and I hope that everything is good wherever you are. Good morning, everyone in the chat room. This is an opportunity for you guys to put your issues out there to toss around with the gang here at McDuff Lives. And as the crowd's gathering, I've got a piece of a book here, part of a book that I've been wanting to read to you guys for a long, long time, and I can't seem to find a niche to put it in. But so I guess I'm just going to read a little bit from this book while the crowd is gathering in the chat room. It's a very, very interesting collection of historical truths that has been put together by this man named David Livingstone. And the book is called Black Terror, White Soldiers, Islam, Fascism, and the New Age. And it was published, just so you know, in 2013. Um, and the I really am enjoying it. I've read. It was one of those books that I used first as a kind of a reference book that you look into, look in the index, and see if the subject you're studying is in the index. You know, like I'm just looking at the index here. And, I've highlighted Michael A. Aquino on page 149, and so this is the way that I gather my information is often by taking a rather long book and looking at the index to see what it has to say about the subject I'm particularly studying. And so here we are back on that page, and we're talking about the Kabbalah, Hegel, um, in uh, Sephardic Jewish ancestry, and all of these things are actually tied into this really broad theme of Islam, fascism, and the New Age. And he's got a lot of documentation. So anyway, I'm just going to read this. I'm starting on page 231 in the chapter called World War One, and the point I want to get to is about Jacob Schiff. Okay, because I think this is something that I really want to talk to uh, David Cranmer Underdown about, and see if this doesn't solve some of the riddles. Ultimately, the myth of America's role in the defense of democracy employed during World War I was a disguise to hide the global ambitions of the robber barons, prominent among which was the Rockefeller oil empire. John D. Rockefeller established the original Standard Oil in 1870 as part of an attempt to implement the Round Table strategy headed by Rothschild agent Jacob Schiff. German-born Schiff belonged to a Frankist family. His most famous ancestors included the 18th century Dayan David Tevella Schiff, a close friend of Rabbi Samuel Falk, who became rabbi of the Greater Synagogue in London, the Great Synagogue in London. For many years, the early Schiffs shared ownership of a two-family house with the Rothschilds. Rabbi Jonathan Eibeschutz's mother was also a member of the Schiff family. But for the following circumstances, as reported by Gershom Scholem, it is not possible to further pursue to the issue of Schiff's Frankist origins. And now it's a quote from Gershom Scholem, that's Scholem. The important file on the Frankists in the Prague's community archives was removed by the president of the community at the end of the 19th century out of respect for the families implicated in it. Jelinek, in parentheses, the mentor of Zacharias Frankel, possessed various Frankist writings in German, but they disappeared after his death. After this sect broke up, messengers were sent to collect together the various writings from the scattered families. This deliberate concealment of Frankist literature is one of the main reasons for the ignorance concerning its eternal history, allied to the decided reluctance of most of sectarians' descendants to promote any investigations into their affairs, unquote. And that's the quote from Gershom Scholem, which is quoted by our author describing, well, the whole picture in preparation for World War I with the robber barons and John D. Rockefeller. Okay, now back to the text. Schiff was the foremost Jewish leader from 1880 to 1920 in what later became known as the Schiff era. Schiff was also a strong supporter of Jewish causes and the Zionist movement and helped establish and develop Hebrew Union College, the Jewish division in the New York Public Library, and the American Jewish Committee. Schiff showed his support for the cause of the Sabbateans when the Jewish Theological Seminary of America, the JTSA, at the head of which was Solomon Schechter, the Frankist and founder of the American conservative Jewish movement, whose mentor was Zacharias Frankel, also a Frankist, was founded in 1901, and he provided it with an endowment of over $500,000 and a building. Today, JTSA operates 5 schools: Albert A. List College of Jewish Studies, which is affiliated with Columbia University, the Graduate School, the William Davidson Graduate School of Jewish Education, the H.L. Miller Cantoral School, and the College of Jewish Music, and the Rabbinical School. Schiff bought into Kuhn and Loeb, a well-known private banking firm. Shortly after he became a partner, he married Loeb's daughter, Teresa. Then he bought out Kuhn's interests and moved the firm to New York, where it became Kuhn, Loeb and Company, with Schiff, agent of the Rothschilds, ostensibly as sole owner. Edward Harriman held a monopoly over the railroads, which was all financed by Schiff at Kuhn, Loeb and Company. However, instead of monopolizing all the other industries for Kuhn, Loeb and Company, Schiff opened the doors of the House of Rothschild to bankers like J.P. Morgan. In turn, the Rothschilds arranged the setting up of London, Paris, European, and other branches for these bankers, but always in partnerships with Rothschild subordinates and with Jacob Schiff in New York as boss. Thus, at the turn of the 19th century, Schiff exercised firm control over the entire banking fraternity on Wall Street, which by then, with Schiff's help, included Lehman Brothers, Goldman Sachs, and other internationalist banks that were headed by men chosen by the Rothschilds. Then, following the American Civil War, Schiff began to finance the great operations of the robber barons, such as the Standard Oil Company for John D. Rockefeller, the railroad empire for Edward R. Harriman, and the steel empire for Andrew Carnegie. John D. Rockefeller Sr. was tasked by the Rothschilds, through their agents John Jacob Astor and Jacob Schiff, to gain control of the American oil industry. Using highly aggressive tactics later widely criticized, Rockefeller's Standard Oil absorbed or destroyed most of its competition and achieved near monopoly throughout the United States, Also in 1890, Congress passed the Sherman Antitrust Act, which forbade any scheme constituting a, quote, restraint of trade. The Standard Oil Group quickly attracted attention from antitrust authorities, leading to a lawsuit filed by Ohio Attorney General David K. Watson. Well, it goes on from there, and every paragraph is, I think, a confirmation of what I really wanted to get out onto the table, and that is the idea that it all goes back to Jacob Schiff. Even J.P. Morgan, Kuhn and Loeb was just Jacob Schiff. It wasn't Kuhn, it wasn't Loeb, it was Jacob Schiff. And Jacob Schiff comes from the Schiff family that was living with the Rothschild family. So a lot of the dust and unclarity in my own mind about how do we unpack this financial system that we're stuck with really likes this theme, the idea that all of it has been set up by machinations of the European already existing, and I would use the word empire because that's the way the financial power works. It works like an empire. It works like an aggressively conquering, you know, uh, Alexander the Great that just wants to keep on conquering and conquering and conquering. And yeah, it uses armies to do it, but it doesn't always have to use armies. It can just use really aggressive and Machiavellian tactics. So that's what I think is important about that. The idea of Frankism being in the background of that is very consistent with, to me, that fundamental Calvinism that I talk about in terms of Alan Dulles. Alan Dulles being the primary actor of Sullivan and Cromwell. Sullivan and Cromwell being the law firm that for Wall Street, for the very corporations and entities that I just named. And all of that comes with, on the Jewish side, a Frankist, and let's make sure and speak to Bill Taylor about this when we next talk. But as Bill Taylor has really dug into the Frankist philosophy and really kookiness of it, but it's almost like a mirror image of fundamental Calvinism as preached by Alan Dulles. When he says, "Well, yeah, I do all that stuff, but well, how do you justify it?" He says, "Well, I am a Calvinist." Okay, well, that means if you're not saved, then you're just worthless. So if you can't do something to help me, the great saved Calvinist, and our great, vanguard of humanity that we're pushing forward, then you're useless and we'll just get rid of you. All right, looks like we've got a good crowd gathered, so let me turn my attention over to the chat room and see what's on your mind. Okay, Miss Hunt drinking coffee. So am I. Yeah, we have a Maryland coffee producer that we get all of ours from. This one is called Hippie Blend. I don't know why, but here's to you. No, there's none of that in it. It's just a name. But speaking of that, uh, I'm going to go off of just off of this theme again, because when you talk about holding company, I've been really interested in William Nelson Cromwell. William Nelson Cromwell was the lawyer that put together the scheme that creates perpetual corporations. So, in tandem with the control of the currency, the control of corporations and the creation of corporations with powers beyond that of government is part of how this empire is taking over the world. So to dig into William Nelson Cromwell and understand how and why he did this, I just purchased a book. It's actually a fairly rare book, published in 1988, um, called a law unto itself, Sullivan and Cromwell. Um, and uh, I'm just spending the money. It's like $95, and it's uh, a good used copy. The other copy you can get them for 200 or more. But anyway, I thought it was just because it's so important to my work that needs to be in the Thomas F. O'Loughlin Memorial Library, which I continue to build. So thanks for your support on Patreon, as that's where I like to finance these purchases from, and I do appreciate everybody that's able to toss in $5 a month or so. That's uh, that's how we keep it going. But the point of it is that this comes right out of that same Jacob Schiff project. We think of Solomon Cromwell as a big power, or Alan Dulles as this monumental figure that could just run this mighty machine that has tentacles all around the world. But why? Where did all that come from? It all comes from that same source, and that is the financing. But now we have these corporations that have perpetual existence, and that is where the the magic happens, right? You know about the World Economic Forum, and you know about, as our friend Harley Schlanger has explained, how the idea is to take the powers of government away from the government and give them to the private interests that are behind the financial system that exists. And that is, what leads to the fourth industrial revolution, and the dehumanizing of most of us, and then the transformation into this singularity, if you want to use Ray Kurzweil's idea, of all of us being connected, or the smart people all being connected by this incredible worldwide computer. It's all crazy. Where is it coming from? Well, it's a control system invented by people that are pursuing the empire, the domination of the world. Well, holding company. That's what this is. What you understand what a holding company is it's just a company that exists in order to hold other companies. Well, that's the corporate veil, that's the curtain that we don't see behind. You understand that there's a limited liability of corporate owners and shareholders and directors, and that it's all protected by laws, that you can't pierce that corporate veil. You can't say, well, this corporation did something bad to me, but they went bankrupt, so I want to sue the principals who really did it. And that's called piercing the corporate veil to get to the actual individuals. And the law has all kinds of barriers to that, but there's sometimes that you can do it. And this is where I think we have to we have to, as from legal analysis, consider that this is the beginning of this disaster of complete separation of the citizens' will, this what the citizens would like to do in their community, from what actually happens, which is directed by, the hidden hand and the power behind the scenes. The people that my mother used to call them they, like I said, they're going to put in a stoplight at out on Livingston Road. You know, they're going to do this. They're going to do that. Who are they? Well, the ones that do things. The rest of us, we just, I guess Riley Wagaman's term for it is proles, or what I would call would be um, subjects as opposed to citizens. And we we find that awakening people to the idea that no, they is not the way to look at it. It's really the subverted government that is being run from behind the curtain illegally, because that corporate veil is protecting them so much that they take advantage of us in ways that destroy us, destroy our lives. So, um, understanding, that the United States did not begin with corporations holding power. There were some small, a corporation to accomplish some public interest. It had to have a public interest. It had to have a specific point and a specific ending point. We need to build a bridge across this river so our merchants can do business with the port. Okay. Create a corporation, shareholders invest, it borrows some money with a payment schedule. The investors get interest, maybe a profit at the end, maybe not, but the idea is that once the bridge is built, the loan's paid off and the whole thing is done. But what we have now is we have these Exxons and um, Pfizer's and these huge, huge entities that can never die. And so they continue with their Calvinist, Frankist, financial power, which is completely ruthless to the rest of us. So there, that's where I think the answer is let's go back and unpack this William Nelson Cromwell, Jacob Schiff, and say, no, we're not going to live that way. That's not what our founding fathers wanted. That's not what our soldiers and sailors and military have fought for and died for. That's not what we are, or to say, put it in Anton Chaikin's words, that's not who we are. All right, a cup of coffee, and I went off on it. There we go. And good morning to everyone. Zago, Corky, Miss Hunt. John, those of us in the periphery, not in the inner circle, worry when you disappear. Those in the inner circle don't communicate or just stick to themselves. Glad you're okay. Oh, well, listen, Ms. Hunt, I'm not in the inner circle. I'm just me. And I've had the great pleasure of working with some really extraordinary journalists and investigators, and some of them have gone their own way. I am still me. I'm still doing my thing, and we're expanding here at McDuff Lives. We now have a podcast produced by drummer, my wife, and that podcast can be found at McDuff Lives Podcast. Just Google it and it will show up. And if you are a podcast member of any of the normal, usual ones like Spotify or the there's a dozen of them. Our producer pushes it out to all of those services. So we're looking to build our audience on podcasts. That's a place that I think we can look to broaden our appeal. Um, but no, I'm not part of any inner circle, and that that is um, kind of sad. But it's good because it allows me to go ahead and make decisions without having to consult with people. And miscommunication and just a lack of organization is a uh, bad way to run a railroad. And unfortunately, a lot of that, just kind of happens when people step up out of the goodness of their heart and get involved in a voluntary way. Um, Not everybody has the same idea as to how things should go, and conflicts arise. And well, you know what I'm saying is that it's been great, working with all these other people, but McDuff Lives is my project. It's what I'm doing, and it's where you can find me. And other than that, just follow me on Twitter. That's where I communicate with people the best. And, I had announced on my show last Friday that I was taking the next 4 days off. So, anyway, I'm sorry that you didn't get the word. I don't like it that people worry about, where's John? But, I'm good. I'm fine. And I had a great birthday. As I've now officially uh, stepped into the latter stage of life at 70, I guess. Now, that's not a fair thing to say, but gosh, so many people have left, in their 60s, and a lot of people are passing. You know, on the other hand, we have guys like Tony Chaikin and Harley Schlanger and people that are thriving in their 70s and thriving in their 80s and even thriving in their 90s. So I'm optimistic but realistic at the same time about all that. Anyway, thanks for your concern, and I'm sorry that you didn't get the word. But yeah, I took 3 days off. Um, Hello, Harry. The power of memes, myths, conjectures, and make-believe stories. Yeah. Um, Look, I'm going to show you if I can get this up. Um, I just saw this on Twitter, and see if I can find it real quick. Here it is. Now, you guys know who Lisa Pease is. She's the author of the book that I think is the most uh, important and reliable account of the murder of Robert F. Kennedy. And but at the same time, I have a lot of difficulties with her because well, she doesn't agree with me on on almost everything else, to put it mildly. But I follow her on Twitter. And I just think it's very interesting to consider this meme. That's a great question. What's the power of memes, myths, conjectures, and make-believe stories? Let's see if I can make my point by sharing this meme here. Let's see. Okay, you can see that. All right, so this is a meme that Lisa has just shared. I don't know where she got it from, but getting triggered by every news event, and the person on our left is so sad and not enjoying his or her life. And then the person on the right is realizing that the news is a scripted drama And the best way to take care of the world is to shut off the TV and become the happiest, healthiest version of yourself. And that's a happy, healthy person looking at the world and enjoying, the view and the scenery and, and the ride. Well, it's a powerful meme. I had to make a comment on it. Let's see. And so here's my comment. It's a clever dialectic. Okay, dialectic meaning there's Hegelian opposing sides, right? That's the actual image that you see is the extreme left, extreme right, you know, extremely sad, extremely happy. And my point is that's a clever dialectic, but it omits the crucial middle ground as usual. And then, problem, reaction, solution. Okay, what's the solution? Well, the solution the meme gives you is don't worry, be happy. You know, get you a Bobby McFerrin album, kick back, don't worry, be happy. That's the solution that the meme says because they're projecting a false dichotomy, a false message telling you that you have to choose one or the other. So they are omitting the crucial middle ground as usual. The solution is to unite in the center and pierce the veil. The veil, meaning the corporate veil, the holding companies. Unpack the holding companies. Return the power to the citizens. Eliminate the power behind the curtain. Return to the Republican ideal of a public thing, a transparent government. And there won't be any more war because nobody in their right mind wants to go to war. As David and I were talking about last night, David Cranmer Underdown, of course, we're talking about ancient hatreds. And yeah, it's as Harley Schlanger was saying at our last meeting, and I was talking about the Ukrainians and the idea that they may be some type of independent force between the West and the East, and that there might, the whole theory of the middle ground, having old connections with the Habsburgs and that empire. And Harley's idea was no, they are just servants. They're providing, the cannon fodder, if you will, for the Ukraine war, but they're not independent. They are working for the system that I've already described earlier this morning, the empire. And, to take uh, that as an example, look at the hatred. Look at the hatred between the former Nazi allies in Ukraine. And I always want to make the point that very few of the Ukrainians were Nazis, okay? The ones that are running the government now are associated with them. But historically, most of the Ukrainians fought for the Russians because they were part of Russia. And that's something that we should never lose sight of, is that, the great patriotic war was to free Ukraine from the Nazis, as well as to free Russia and the rest of Europe. But it's that hatred, the hatred of the Soviets still exists, and the hatred of the Slavs as a racist hatred still exists. Not, I know they're all Slavs, but there's a hatred of the westernized part of them, and I'm not a scholar on the different branches of the Slavic peoples. This is very, very deep and historically important. So I'm studying that now, but I'm not an expert on it. But there's a definite distinction between those that allied themselves with the Nazis and those that fought for the Russians in the World War II, and that is what's going on right now. How do they get people to go to war? Well, one way is ancient hatred, just a visceral desire to commit genocide. You know, that's where genocide comes from. So those people are so evil, I'm going to destroy them. I'm going to, you know, Carthago delenda est. The Romans hated the Carthaginians so much that when they finally conquered them, they completely and totally destroyed delenda, Carthago delenda est. And they salted their fields so crops wouldn't grow. And that idea of just committing genocide exists. It does. And they are not doing these things because that's what they really want to do is kill Russians. They're doing it because it pays, because they can survive that way, because they have become tools of this imperial monster that survives by conquering and ultimately will disintegrate after it runs out of things to conquer. But that's a long time off, and I wouldn't wait for that. No, so what we need to do is stop this crazy division of right and left and get together in the center and start using the tools that the founding fathers would have used: the reason, logic, um, historical fact, and understanding of the way the financial system is being used to destroy us. All right, thanks for that one, Harry. Let's get on to somebody new here. Good morning, David. Good morning, everybody. Corky's got a new kitchen. Congratulations, my friend. Uh, let's see. Just scrolling to see some names that I haven't already mentioned yet. Let's see. Yeah, it's wheels within wheels. Good old Ezekiel, right? Mrs. Astor's pet horse. Oh yeah, we had a great time. My roommate from William and Mary, Ted, and his wife, we got together, and just enjoyable to be with somebody that you've known for 50 years and just comfortable reunion. And I have to say, I'm so touched. He Ted had bought a new car maybe a year ago, and uh, they don't drive much. I mean, they live, in Blowing Rock, which is a small town, and But in the wintertime, it's iced in and they they stay through the winter. But besides that, they have some issues that prevent them from going very far. So the old car was sitting in the driveway and he offered it to me. And it was so sweet. And so I got this I mean beautiful car. It's a 2008, but it only has like 30,000 miles on it. And so that really helps. Since I quit practicing law, I've been um well, it's different, and so we got by with one car during COVID, but um this is like being almost getting set free because now we have two cars and it's just a beautiful car. It was very almost showroom conditions. So what a blessing. Yep, very good birthday. Yeah, playing both sides against the middle. Well, Kissinger is still the key, and when he says to make deal, they'll make a deal. And I don't follow GW, um, but that's my idea as well. He and I often have the same ideas. He's a very brilliant man. Now hi David, and thank you for that. I didn't know anything about this. Queen Maria of Romania for a sort of synarchist intrigue. Wow. Yeah, interesting. The Romanians were allied with Hitler, and it's interesting. Um, the the Romanian royal family um, was still a thing during World War II. Um, not a very successful army, and unfortunately, with the Battle of Stalingrad, which is just this. As you know, it was horrible. As I said at the top of the show, no reasonable person wants to go to war. And you know, I've studied Stalingrad very intensely over the past couple of years, and you can see where the Romanian troops were not supplied. They didn't have the weapons that the Germans had. They had old stuff. They had cannons that wouldn't shoot very far and tanks that would fall apart and um, but they were officially, allied, and I think if I recall, Paulus, the head German general, the general of the German the Sixth Army, I think it um, was married to a Romanian um, noble. I can't remember the exact thing, but anyway, I know that's another interesting angle to pursue. Zago is the concept of a transnational class, a useful theoretical construct. Well, I'm not sure what you mean, except for that it sounds very much like the kind of the secret team idea that you get from Fletcher Prouty, where they're transnationals. They do not respect national boundaries. It's like it's part of the deal. If you want to be one of them, if you want to make your living as an imperial agent, you know, have that nice fat salary for doing what they want, then you belong to this transnational class. And it does come from Prouty. and it describes the attitude of this Sullivan and Cromwell clients and the people that run those lawyers from behind the curtain. That's their attitude. We are already the world. We are the world. We are the real power. You know, the, Walter Lippmann, Bernays, they all speak of this coterie of enlightened people. They don't respect national boundaries. So I think that's what you mean. And yes, absolutely. It is a very useful concept. Hello, Prester John. Let's see what you. People need to stop discussing Klaus Schwab as if he is a one off. The WEF is made up of thousands of top tier corporations who share a free market neoliberal vision of society. Yes, it's like he's the scary clown, right? I mean, he is. He wears the Klingon outfit, and he just talks like this pompous jerk. He hasn't. I don't think he ever spent a moment trying to improve his accent in English. The fluent English speaker, but he acts like he doesn't give a damn. And this is what's happening. And you will own nothing, and you will be happy. Well, you'll be happy because you took Lisa Pease's advice and stayed on the happy side of the bus and just looked out the window and enjoyed the scenery as your life went by. That's the kind of happy that they're talking about. So, that meme that she published is very, very powerful. It's telling people, sit down, shut up, you don't know nothing. And if you want to be happy, just smile and look out the window. It's exactly the way to destroy a republic. Turn it into a bunch of totalitarian jerks running the rest of us as serfs and slaves and calling us subhumans, pigs, or half devils, if you know that reference. Take up the white man's burden. Yeah, jerks. Hello, Brightmore. Was Hedley Donovan of Time Inc. related to Wild Bill? I do not know, but I'll bet you David Cranmer Underdown can give us some. All right, here you go, Patacorn. You have nailed it. You have nailed it. That's exactly where my mind was before the show started. And what a good way to wrap it up. Okay. Whoever named the band Big Brother and the Holding Company. And by the way, you may not be familiar with them. They were the backup band for Janis Joplin, is the way I think of them, because I think of Janis Joplin as like the great superstar. But they were a band that she wasn't a part of, and she had been a solo artist and uh, went to San Francisco and became their lead singer. And that's where so much of that incredible Joplin repertoire comes from. Down on Me and oh, the album Cheap Thrills, Janis Joplin with Big Brother and the Holding Company. And there I was thinking, okay, Big Brother is the totalitarian, big eye in the sky that looks at us all and records our movements on the big computer. And but the holding company, that's the secret device. That's what I was talking about at the beginning of the show. The holding company is the means by by which these corporations hide and keep themselves impenetrable and thereby extended into permanent powers that can't be taken down, like BP or Pfizer, Standard Oil. All of these corporate vehicles are the empire, and these corporations serve as to be the little magic, the alchemy, that here we are in the United States of America, the land of the free and the home of the brave. Sic semper tyrannis, and we are controlled behind the scenes by a Frankist, Calvinist, Kabbalistic empire that is voraciously eating up every single asset on the planet and discarding us as waste and committing us to lives of drudgery, unhappiness, and sickness. So we have to walk away from the people that say you have to choose one or the other. I choose to be part of the res publica, the public thing, the transparent functioning of public affairs by free citizens of a free, sovereign republic. How simple can it get? Yes, turn off the TV, but no, don't tune out. Don't drop out. That's how they win. So whoever named that band, it's like whoever named Grateful Dead, you know, they this is Bernaysian psychological manipulation. Yeah, you'll be happy to die. You'll be grateful that you're dead. Future looks so dark. Why? Because of Big Brother. And how does Big Brother do it? The holding company. And it seems like this whole damn world is down on me. All right. Well, that's my show for this morning. That's our show for this morning here at McDuff Lives. And, oh, I had that image up too long. Let's get rid of that. Yeah, that's right, David. Here's a little song I wrote. I might want to sing it note for note. Don't worry. Be happy. Okay. Well, don't worry and do be happy, but don't just stare out the window for your whole life. Get in the mix. Screw them with their social distancing bullshit. We got to get together. Let's get together and feel all right. One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel all right. That's the answer.